Hello, this is Dr. Earl. Thank you for joining me today for my Facebook Live on coping with holiday stress. So I am actually going to be broadcasting on Facebook as well as Instagram. So give me a second to get that set up. Hey guys, what's up? This is Dr. Earl. Thank you for joining me today on Facebook and Instagram for my live on coping with holiday stress. So today I'm going to be talking about a couple of tips about managing stress during the holidays. So feel free to comment to let me know where you're watching from. And be sure to share the video if you're watching on Facebook. If you're watching on Instagram, you will be able to watch the replay back for the next 24 hours. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram at Dr. Earl Turner or here at The Breakdown with Dr. Earl. You can also follow me on Facebook at Dr. Earl Turner. So we're going to be talking about a couple of things about holiday stress today. So the holidays can be a fun time for most people, but it can also be very stressful. And for those that may be especially grieving the loss of a loved one, the holidays can be additionally stressful for those individuals as well. So I'm not going to talk a lot about grief and coping today, but understanding that those can be very difficult times for people when it comes to the holidays and missing someone that you have made some memories with that is no longer there. So just to tell you a little bit about myself, as I stated, I'm Dr. Earl Turner. I am a licensed psychologist. Primarily, my work is centered around addressing the needs of children and families. I'm also a psychology professor in Los Angeles, where I teach psychology courses to doctoral students as well as master's students training to work in mental health to be licensed mental health providers. I know that the holidays for most people is a fun time of year, and most people don't experience increased stress levels. But if we look at the data, what we know from research is that anywhere between approximately 30 to 40% of people actually experience increased stress during the holiday seasons. And a report from the American Psychological Association, I believe 2016, noted that women oftentimes experience more stress than men. And so what they found was that according to this study from the American Psychological Association, women oftentimes feel more stress due to responsibilities with the family, which might include cooking meals or dinners for these special occasions, cleaning up and preparing for the holidays. Also, women may experience more stress when it comes to shopping as well. Not to say that men don't get stressed when it comes to shopping as well, but that study from the American Psychological Association noted those particular points there. So what can you do to avoid or minimize stress during the holidays? The first tip or strategy that I want to talk about is that you want to set realistic expectations. So I think that when it comes to the holidays, we definitely want to make sure that we are doing our best. And for some people, they want things to be perfect when it comes to, the events that we plan, when it comes to like decorating or when it comes to making sure that we purchase certain gifts for people. We want perfection in those types of things. So I think it's important that we understand that we want to be realistic with our expectations. So I think it's really important that we think about our budget expectations. And so how much money are we expecting to spend, or do we want to spend, or what can we realistically spend during the holidays? So you do want to keep those things in mind and try to stay within that budget. Of course, there may be times where you don't stick within that budget, but I think if you sort of set those reasonable expectations, at least you sort of know what your limit is when it comes to your spending. Also, you want to think about expectations about making sure that the holidays is a fun time. And so you want this to be a memorable experience. And the most thing that's important is making those memories and having fun together. So I think that A lot of times when we think about the holidays, we get so caught up in how commercialized Christmas is, for example, that we don't really think about the real reason behind the holiday. The second thing I want to talk about is when it comes to the holidays, you want to plan ahead as much as possible. And so I think one of the things about planning ahead is that it helps us to reduce our anxiety and stress levels if we sort of know what we may be expecting coming forward. And so when it comes to family gatherings or even travel, you want to make sure that you give yourself as much time as possible to plan ahead so that way you can reduce the amount of stress in terms of getting things together at the last minute. The third thing that I want to talk about is getting back to my point that I made a second ago about managing difficult conversations. So when it comes to politics, this can be very difficult to talk about for some families. I think especially during our current political climate, that I would suggest that you try to avoid politics this year. I know that personally myself, the last couple of days, I have limited the amount of news that I am consuming and trying to make an effort to actually not watch as much during the holidays, because I think I realize sort of things that stress me out and get me overwhelmed. And so I try to manage and regulate some of those conversations that are sensitive or difficult come up, or conversations about politics. You want to be able to make sure that you allow someone to have their opinion, not get over or hyper focused on making sure that your opinion is the correct, the right opinion. And then you also want to avoid personal attacks. I think that when it comes to difficult conversations or conversations about politics, that they can turn nasty really quickly, and you may personally attack someone for the opinion that they have. And so I think, especially during the holiday season, you want to make sure that you, again, are not wanting to ruin the holiday and ruin the memory of that holiday. So the next thing that I want to talk about is taking time for yourself during the holidays. And so I think for most people, they feel that during the holiday season, you are required, or it's important that you engage in attending all of these parties or interacting with family or friends during the holidays. And so I think it's important that we also remember that it's okay to take some time for yourself. And this goes into this idea about self-care, which is something that we talk a lot about. And so we want to make sure that even during the holidays that you make time for yourself. And that doesn't mean that it has to be, a week or a full day. It may mean that you take an hour or 2 hours or even 30 minutes, so that you can just have some time to yourself and to be able to sort of take a break from all of the busyness of the holiday season. Really, the main purpose of this self-care or taking time for yourself is that it gives you an opportunity to sort of recharge your battery and energy, so to speak. And so I think one thing that we want to think about is, like, if you have a remote control and the battery is low, it doesn't work as well. And so think about your body, and that you have to also remember to take some time for yourself to be able to recharge as well. And so that may mean taking a little break from a party or an activity, or planning for the holidays, so that you can be able to sort of recharge yourself. So